Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city. First of September, the roads are busy, everyone's back to school, Dubai is bustling like it never stopped, and there's lots of activities happening. I was at the opening of a new restaurant in ICT Brookfield in the IFC last night from the EatX group of Tom and Serge fame. They've opened the Guild. I well recommend checking it out. And there's so much going on in the city at the moment, as always. If you're following the smashy business news, the investments and startups, you'll see some cool AI stuff this week. G42 from Abu Dhabi have launched an AI model called Jace. And then in the fintech type space, Tabby, Buy Now Pay Later app, have launched Tabby Shop as well on their app. So this week's interview is around the sort of fintech space like Tabby, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. Today with us is Purvi Munot. She is the CEO and co-founder of SAV. They are a homegrown, hyper-personalized fintech app that only launched last year in 2022. They want to bring relevance and sustainability to personal finances. Good morning, Purvi.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
And thanks for coming on. You just got off a flight from Jeddah at 3 o'clock this morning. It's 11 o'clock now and you're going to Riyadh tonight. So the life of an entrepreneur. How are you today?
I'm doing very well and very excited to be a part of this. And I'm sure there's nothing new in this life. You have to be where your audiences are.
Yeah. And so tell us, what is, do you say SAV or do you say SAV?
We call it SAV.
SAV. So tell us, what's the pitch?
So we realize that a lot of expats come in here to enjoy great salaries, a good lifestyle. However, amidst the glitz and glam of the city, it's so easy to lose control of your finances. And that is where there has to be an instrument that helps you understand your money better, puts you in control of it, and helps you save money for your financial goals. That's what SAVE is about.
So it's SAV, so it's from short of save. That's where you get to it.
Yes.
So is it a savings app or is it a transactional app?
This is a savings app. And our focus is how do you connect your multiple bank accounts and see insights about your spending habits and also find opportunities where you can save and invest better. So it starts with learning about yourself and your behavior. And then the next step is understanding and realizing what your financial goals are. And then we simplify the process for our users.
Can you deposit savings into the app?
Yes. So we do not take deposits directly. We have partnered with banks and financial institutions which are licensed to keep users' money. And whenever you are saving, you can pick up an instrument of your choice and start saving or investing towards it.
But you can make the transactions in the app, but you're not the custodian.
No, we are not the custodians.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about the background? How did you get into this and how did the idea come about?
So I've always been a consumer banker and a payments person across my career. Started with Citibank in APAC markets, then moved here with MasterCard's advisors team. So I was working with a lot of banks in UAE, KSA, Bahrain to help them launch new products, only to realize that the focus of the region had been quite skewed recently towards borrowing and how do we make a customer consume more and more, even if they cannot afford it. There has been significant innovation in moving things from physical banking to digital banking. However, there was a missing element where no one was talking about how do you put users in control of their money. And that's the entire money management spectrum that we have been talking about. So comes a bit of my experience across the industry and then realizing there's a significant gap around how saving products are handled in the region, which have been limited to savings accounts or current accounts. But how do we make it more user-friendly and relevant to lifestyles of the users is something that we intend to do with the fintech that we have built.
Okay, so I think everyone will agree that, being knowledgeable about finances is important, money literacy, and also obviously saving and how you described sort of consumer behavior around money. But how did you go about it? So at what point did you decide, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, or, were you waiting for a product like this to come about and it wasn't coming, you weren't seeing one, so you decided to do it yourself?
So I have been a recent mover into the Dubai ecosystem. So I came in here just around COVID, around 2020, and I had seen. I was about to realize that while I'm drawing 3x salaries from my home country, I'm not saving as much, and a lot of it is getting consumed because I'm going out for fancy dinners. There's a great lifestyle that I have started to live, which I can afford, but necessarily doesn't fit into my long-term goals. And when I started speaking to friends, family, peers in office, I could realize that everyone faces the same issue. They were saving much, much larger amounts back home than what they are able to put together in here. So people are smart, but that doesn't mean they're money wise as well. And that's where they need places where they can put their heads around saying, this is what I want to achieve, this is when I want to achieve, and this is going to be my path. And we simplify that process where we chart out that. And that was our starting point. Started with more of a personal problem. Then we ventured out understanding how people around us are also facing it. And now we are about 50,000 users strong. So we see that people want to really save money. Just that they've been looking for right instrument in there.
Okay, so 50,000 people are doing what?
So they do 3 things on the app. One, where they get insights about their spend behavior. They are finding opportunities where they can save and invest. So the app can tell you, hey, you've drawn only 20,000 dirhams this month, but you ended up spending 22,000. So there's scope to tone down your expenses. On the other hand, what we also do is, hey, you've drawn 20,000 this month, but you spent only 16,000. There's that 4,000 which should be invested or saved better in formats that could sit well with the goals that you want to achieve. That's the first thing they do. The second thing is they create multiple financial goals. So you want to get a holiday to Hawaii, you want to save up for your kids' education, could be any goal. You can just set that. The second thing that we have done very efficiently on the app, and that's what people do, is automate their savings. So every time you are spending, your spare change can be rounded up and get into one of your goal accounts. Every time you get paid, your money can be automatically divided into your goals. And that's what people love. The best thing that people get out of the app and that they are most sticky on the app about is the rewards ecosystem. So every time you save on the app, you get save coins, which could get you free coffees, movie nights, discounts on e-commerces. And that not only saves you money directly, but there's a lot to save indirectly and a lot of reward ecosystem that makes you sticky to a good money behavior.
Sounds like you've built a few things in once. I like that feature about the roundup, the spare change part, to digitize that. It's like, the physical world of the money jar when you have change in your pocket. But how does that work if you're not making a payment on the app? Does the app recognize when you've made a payment with your ATM cards or your credit cards, and it sees that it's like, say, 149 dirhams, 35 fils, it takes the 65 fils and puts it in a...
Right, exactly that. So every time you're spending like $135, the additional $5 can get rounded up and get into one of your goal accounts. Okay. And it is your choice how you want to save towards it and which goals do you want to contribute it towards. But this just works well. You don't have to constantly think about saving. Even while you're spending, there's an opportunity to save.
Yeah, interesting. And so you launched in 2022. You came here in the pandemic. At what point did you start? Was it a year before you launched? And you have a co-founder. Like, how did that come about? How did you meet your co-founder, and how did you launch?
Right. So I came from a financial background, so I was constantly looking at the industry and seeing what's happening globally. and what's happening in the UAE and GCC in general. We could see there's a huge potential, there's a huge influx of money that happens into individual bank accounts every month. But there's an opportunity to unlock and say that savings can become big as well. That became my starting point, and it was only 2021, a year into the ecosystem, I started feeling that. But then I did a lot of groundwork around getting a banking partner, getting ecosystem players in place, putting together a team. We've got a very impressive team who have been all 2X founders, so they knew the drill of building a company. And Feb 2022 is when we took the final call that we have to be full-time on this. We've done enough scoping and fleshing out the ideas. We went about understanding more around customer behaviors for the first 3-4 months before we even started building the product. Next 4 to 5 months were around building the tech side of it and testing it with very limited audiences. And as we moved forward, we decided that how do we just scale this for more and more users? So November 2022 is when we finally launched it for the audiences. So good 8-10 months went into the real understanding and building piece of it. My co-founders actually come from a very diverse background. When I was looking at savings as a problem from a very customer perspective, saying that customers want to save their money towards their goals, but they do not get multiple apps like you've seen globally. You've got Revolut, Monzo's, N26, Capitals, and they're pretty popular. But what he was looking at, one of my co-founders, Mithil, was looking at this problem from a very commerce angle. If people are wanting to save, there are things they want to buy. And those are, they want to take their next holidays, they want to save up for maternity, do a home makeover. So how do we connect the user intents with brands they love and create value not only for the customers, but also for the ecosystem players? And that's where Mithil joined me after being commerce director for a large media agency for MENA and Turkey region. And my other co-founder has a technology background, have been heading innovation for National Bank of Dubai, then built a Web3 startup, exited that, and then joined us early 2022.
That's interesting. Like, were you tempted when you were coming up with this idea, sort of late 2020 or throughout 2021, to do a sort of a Web3 company, or did you think that sort of the fintech saving, something that everyone understands and that is needed for today, was the more safer bet?
For me, it was always the banking world, and that is where I could see simple gaps. If you want to change customer behavior or movement towards a technology, it takes a certain amount of time. But there are certain things which are straightforward, which are you're saving your money in certain formats. But can we put some intelligence into it? Can we put relevance into it? Can we fit that into your lifestyle? And that is what we typically started with. As we move forward, we've got plans. How do we plug in multiple products which fit into users' lifestyles and make it more relevant on a day-to-day basis?
Such as?
So we are talking about insurances, investments, even how do we, there's an interesting product that we have recently launched, which is region's first Save Now, Buy Later platform, which helps you to...
Not buy now, pay later.
It is Save Now, Buy Later, yes. So we incentivize you for planning your goals in advance. So if you want to take a holiday and you say that I want to save up with one of our brand partners, the brand co-saves with you. You save $5,000, the brand gives you 500 for being in control of their money and loving the brand.
That's quite cool.
Yeah.
It's like giving the discount as well. That's interesting.
It's a way better return, and optically the user sees value in it. Any which way you were going to buy those things. So why pick up a loan if you don't need it?
So you have someone who's passionate about the banking world. You have someone who understands commerce and consumer behavior and transactions, and a technologist. Was that enough? Did you get your kind of MVP, your minimal viable product? Did you get the app ready with those 3 people? And and what's the team now?
We are a 16-member team right now, and most of our team still is on technology. Since we are building a technology product, the core has to be really strong and scalable, and that is what we focused on at all times. So we built an ecosystem that can plug in multiple financial products as we grow, can go to multiple geographies as we grow. So that's where the impetus had been. But when we talk about MVP, it was Mithil, Abdul, who have been at the core of it. And then we had very senior mentors from the industry who had been working with us very closely on regulations, on technology, on building the product. But it is not only bringing those elements together, it is understanding the customer and what they actually want. So it required us to go back to the customers every day, 4 to 5 hours, talking to them that what exactly do they want, and are we even solving their problems, right?
That's how you did your sort of one-to-one focus groups.
Yes, it was more one-to-one. Focus groups only came in later because people get influenced. Money is quite personal in nature, right? You do not want to talk about your real issues or your real feelings or beliefs about money in public. Whereas when I speak to you, you'd be happy to tell me, okay, 1, 2, 3 are the challenges that I face, and probably this is how an ecosystem can solve towards it. Not everyone is honest about their money issues, but yes, one-on-ones always work better.
Well, the app and the data doesn't lie. And I was quite impressed with the app look and feel on the website and the design of it. It's quite intuitive. It's visual. So was that important? Did you have good UX, UI? Did you work with third parties, or how did you go about that?
So we've always kept our team internal. Every member has been full-time since day one. We understood that design is an important element, but it has evolved over a period of time. And it has evolved because we had customer feedback. The first cut was more from understanding that we developed from first 100 people, right? But now the version of the app is from the understanding that we have developed from 40,000 plus people. So it constantly evolves. Even the use cases that we are building are evolving. We could see that a lot of couples come in here, and both of them are earning couples. They contribute towards the finances equally. They don't only want to spend together, they want to save together. So how do you incorporate that into the savings ecosystem is something that we are actively working on. Save now, buy later comes again from a user behavior that they want to save, but they want to save for something they want to buy. So how do you incentivize and help them stay on track? So yes, the learnings have been on the way, and UX is constantly evolving. We are still not at 100%, and I believe that there's no 100% in a startup world. You have to constantly evolve as your customers evolve.
Yeah, it's always on, isn't it? Like design and development. It's good to hear that you have that many, you're focused on the product, because you can't sort of push something out and that's it. Like you have to constantly iterate. It's never ending, and the team will probably grow.
Yeah.
So how do you make money?
So multiple ways. We've got ecosystem partners who we get more customers for. Right now, we do not make any money on the financial services part. We do not charge anything for the users because there's a lot of habit building and removal of friction that we are focused on.
Are you incentivized then to push products towards people?
We get incentivized by brands. So that's how we make money.
So, for example, the financial industry is quite competitive. Lots of different brands have different debit cards, credit cards, savings plans, and leads are premium for them. And the thought of 50,000 ready-made qualified leads with intent seems appealing. How does it work? Like, do they have for everyone who goes through SAV? For everyone who goes through your app, what's the percentage, or what's the sort of affiliate deal, or what's the cost per acquisition that you receive?
So we've been one of the industry lowest when it comes to acquiring a customer, because...
But I mean, for the way that you make money, so like, how do you, if someone chooses a product via a third party?
Right. So if they pick up a financial product via us, it is a customer choice, and it's absolutely optional if they want a financial product. and that is where they directly pay to banks or the financial services provider. But on the other hand, for using the platform, there's a subscription fee we are in process of introducing. And
But
that
so,
also,
so just on the side, so do you get a cut of what they save, or do you get a one-off fee for bringing that customer to the financial institution?
so right now we don't intend to monetize on the financial services part. This is something that we are still discussing with the regulator, how we can make a cut of or take a portion of what we get from the users. But that's something that we don't monetize at all.
But you monetize which part?
On when the customer is saving and is ready to buy, we monetize on that time.
You get a fee.
Yeah.
And then the subscription part?
Yeah, subscription is something which we are introducing with some advanced features. So there are advanced rewards that come in, and at the same time, features like save to save now, buy later across the spectrum open up for the user. And this is going to be really minimal. Our focus is to reach more and more users and deploy more network effects before we choose that it is time to monetize it in the full to the fullest.
Like building a sort of a vouchers app is a business in itself. Was that hard to do on top of the savings app, to have this sort of reward points and discounts and incentives?
Right. So we don't directly do the discounts, but the idea was tied to a very simple loop that we wanted to build. Savings, everyone wants to do, but it requires a lot of effort and discipline. And if you're not incentivized enough, you're not going to stay hooked to it. What we do is every time you save on the platform, there are save coins associated. So customer saves the money, earns the save coins, and gets added rewards, right? And obviously it was quite an effort because we've got about 100 plus e-commerce brands already listed on the platform. We've got very cool cafes that the customers get access to for free coffees and discounts on food. But it is associated with a simple pattern. Yes, it took us time to build the merchant side of ecosystem, but that also gets onto being one of our modes, which is not replicable on day one.
E-commerce, is that what's the experience? Does that mean I can buy headphones on your app on Amazon?
No, we get you deals where you can buy. So we unlock you specialized deals and you can directly go on merchant's website and buy it.
Okay, and it's tracked and you get an affiliate.
We don't get an affiliate. There's a direct partnership that we've got with a lot of brands.
Okay, fair enough. And it's lots of interesting features on the app, but technically on this podcast, I've interviewed a few different people before in fintech, and there was one particular company who built an app that you could see all your investments. Mm-hmm. So not necessarily the purchasing and the savings, but that you could see where your assets were in property, what was in equities, what was in bonds, what was in real estate, or anything else. And a lot of the difficulty that I had to start with the kind of APIs and integrating all the data in real time. How has that been easy? And is it easy for you to do, or how have you gone about it? And then secondly, when the user is logging in, do they need to connect then all their different banking cards with you, and how easy is that?
Right. So the process is pretty simple. We that hadn't been a challenge from a user's perspective, but that building that ecosystem where you could bring all the banking partners together and multiple asset types together is slightly complex. And that is where we limit ourselves only to banking accounts at this point in time. Yes, as we grow, we'd want to have a real-time snapshot of your overall money or your net worth. That's where we are also headed to, but it's not simple on day one. You have to work with certain aggregators who are licensed to do this. Right now, we are not licensed to connect to direct bank accounts and see customers' data. So we just reflect, we process what we have, but we don't store any information and give customers insight. We are third-party partners.
Okay. So the technical part. So how soon is the data visible on the app? So
instantly.
So I used Deliveroo. I purchased lunch before this show.
Right.
I didn't, but just imagine I did. And then it cost me 60 dirhams. I opened the app and it's visible there?
Yes, you just have to do a quick refresh and it would show up there if your bank account is connected.
Okay, so that's That's quite impressive. So it's mainly the bank accounts. It's mainly your purchasing.
Only bank accounts right now. We do not have credit cards as an option, and I'm sure that's going to be a great addition as we move forward.
Yeah, especially with your sort of your Visa background, was it, or MasterCard?
It's MasterCard.
MasterCard. Yeah, interesting. And with fintech and with finance and things like that, there's really good regulation in the UAE. But how did you go about setting up the license? Which activities did you need, and where did you set it up?
So we worked with licensed financial services provider to do the activity of arranging and providing money services. What we limited ourselves is to building intuitive technology that connects user and the financial services provider. So between bank and us, there's a middle layer that sits, which is licensed in nature. Now, when we want to add insurances, other products, that's where we are in process of obtaining direct financial services license.
Okay, and which free zone did you set it up in?
We are in DIFC, and we intend to be regulated by the FSA.
Very good. And did you raise funds?
Yes, we did. So we raised about $1 million in December of 2022.
Seed or series?
This was a pre-seed.
Pre-seed.
Yes. So this was just about when we were getting started and getting the product rolling. But from 2,000 customers back then, we've got about 50,000 users. So we've shown immense growth. And yeah.
So that's kind of 6 months later, you have 16 people, $1 million goes fast. So you're probably on a raising seed round now?
We would be raising very soon. We haven't formally opened the round as of yet. But yes, it takes good 6 to 8 months if you have to plan a larger seed. And that's where we've just about started getting the conversations going.
Okay, and when you're speaking to investors, are they excited enough of the opportunity on saving, or do they want to see more, not a super app, but more things that can potentially get more users?
So
features.
I think what investors are looking at is how sticky is the behavior that you are trying to create. And while acquiring a customer is easy, are you able to retain the customers with more offers, features, functionalities, right? So
why is acquiring a customer easy?
Acquiring customers as in getting a customer to download you or get registered, right? They can discover you on multiple channels, right?
But some people find that hard, but you...
It is. So I should put it, it's relatively easy, but what's difficult is keeping a customer on the app, right? And that's where the challenge starts. That is the customer doing enough number of activities on the app? Or do you have enough offerings to offer to the user so that they stick by? Where we found our niche was the entire Save Now Buy Later proposition, where we have partnered with 13 travel brands. So if you want to travel anywhere, you can actually pick up a goal with any brand of your choice and start saving towards them, and brand contributes. That's a lot of value. There are 2 ancillary other categories that we are working on right now. Automobiles, jewelry, home makeovers make a good category for us, and we are just going deeper. We are focusing on where our customers are, and that is what investors like to see, and we've got very good response on that front.
Okay, cool. So people are using your app maybe for inspiration of what to do with their savings as well.
They save.
Yeah.
They are saving, and that makes the difference.
Yeah. And like there's other sort of apps that have come about in the region on investment apps, like connecting with stock markets and things like that. Right. Is that something you looked at?
Yes, and that's on our roadmap as well. But where we want to be is helping people understand their money better and doing the basic bit first before thinking of investments. Again, where the issue comes in is people want to invest, but there's a lot of financial literacy research which is required before you get onto a DIY investment app. And that's where we want to start the journey, where we are able to handhold them right from the saving stage for things that they do on a regular basis. They spend on a regular basis, but how can we make it more responsible consumption for them? How do we make affordability more sustainable for them? And then as the next step, how do we help them create their emergency corpuses, or how do we help them save for their retirement goals, right? So that's where it sets in. Emergency corpus is again a focus area for us, but as we move forward, around investments would kick in. Insurance is something that has been massively overlooked in this region as well, and that's what we want to bundle with users' day-to-day lifestyle. So for emergencies that happen and things that we do not imagine, that's where the control is also required.
But everything transactional. So if you have an insurance product, does that mean that you've partnered with an insurance provider and you custom the product, but then the transaction takes place outside of your app?
So we are in process of partnering with insurance apps, and before launching, I cannot be saying anything because we are still in process of getting regulated. But the idea is have white label products for our customers so that they associate with SAVE as a brand. And as we move forward, they know that we trust this brand and it just fits into my lifestyle seamlessly.
That's cool. Yeah. So it is quite native then. It's white labeled. And so going back on the different types of fintech offerings, like this is very consumer focused. Is there ever going to be a sort of a B2B or a corporate function?
Oh, yes. So our Save Now Buy Later proposition is more of a B2B2C format where we are not only serving our users, we are also serving brands, right? How they look at it is they've been looking for customers who have got high intent to buy, and beyond Meta and other channels, how do they get access to these customers much in advance of their actual purchase. And that's the opportunity that we unlock for them. A customer who is still in a consideration phase but actively saving towards something becomes the most high intent customer that they can have. And that's where we get listed on their websites. We are present in stores where customer can start their savings journey when they have got an intent to buy something.
Yeah, interesting. So I get that, and that obviously a strong appeal for brands looking to sell to customers. But what about companies who want to save? Like, what about different, if you've got a very good visual app and that you look at money, then that could be of use to businesses as well. If you look at data and look at where...
Right. So there's a big data play that we are building in here, because not only do we understand customers' spending patterns and saving patterns, we also know what kind of lifestyle needs that they are consuming on a day-to-day basis. That comes in from what kind of save rewards that they are consuming, or what kind of brands that they are saving with. So that's where we are trying to cohortize customers. There are about 322 data points that we monitor of the customers right now, and then wanting to build a more intelligent engine that just fits into how they want to do things. Banks typically have been more product-led, where if you go to a particular bank, 1, 2, 3, 4 products exist. How we want to flip that story saying is, this is where the customer's lifestyle is. This is how they spend. This is how they save. This is what they want to buy. And how do you plug in multiple financial products into their journey is going to be a game changer for them. This is where money and financial services are going to resonate more with them. Now, I think your second part of the question was, can we embed savings with merchants? While that is a thing yet to be seen, I think money is more personal, and you want to keep it where you see the core purpose is saving your money or spending your money. So you wouldn't want to go and save your money with a particular merchant because you don't know how that's going to span out. Would you get your money back or not? So there's a lot of trust building that you need to do between the customer and the brand, and the entire onus then goes to the brands, which the brands do not want to take. In our case, what we try to do is we want to embed savings into customers' use cases, but we take the responsibility of farming that customer so that they save enough before they are able to buy things.
Okay, interesting. And I was thinking earlier when you were talking about the commercial side of it, and when you mentioned financial services, there's a lot of financial advisory around future planning and savings and investment. There's a lot of firms that would be interested in a database of 10, 50, 100,000 people.
Right.
Are there opportunities there? Will you look at advertising? This term retail media now, where it's, advertising within apps that's more sort of native and the purchase intent is there. So is that a potential revenue opportunity?
We wouldn't go that route because data, being a fintech app, data is of prime importance to us, and customers, the security of that data is our responsibility again. So we don't want to dilute it by saying that you can spend, because our core purpose is how do you save. If you are spending, how can you first save and spend responsibly? That's where we extend ourselves into. But the advertising is not going to be the next route. We would list multiple financial products on our website so that the customer gets a marketplace view of where they want to save with or what kind of instruments that they want to pick. But it's never going to be get a credit card or get XYZ savings account. That's not where we are headed.
Okay, and on the educational part, like you mentioned earlier, especially related to the stock market that people need to know, I see some companies spend a lot of resources and funds on content, even though they're fintech companies, and it can be very costly to do a lot of sort of educational videos or latest market news and things like that.
Right.
Is that something that you think you will need to do, or do you think that other companies can do that and you focus on the sort of data and the thing?
So literacy and providing a platform go hand in hand, and that's a certain use case where we want to go deeper into. It is not only a single player that can bring that kind of a financial literacy into the ecosystem. It is more of a network play, how 10 big players in the market are creating the kind of information that resonates with people, and then people want to save and invest, then it's their choice where they want to be at. Content is of importance also from a lifestyles perspective. For us, how do we find elements that are valuable to them on their day-to-day spending and saving behavior? And that's the content that we are limiting ourselves to right now. And as we get more specialized in terms of the products that we offer, there's a larger awareness play and outlay that we'll have to build.
Yeah, fascinating. And, being down in DIFC, it's really sort of, we're growing. It's really a melting pot of startups, like in that innovation hub. There's loads of fintech companies there. Is that inspiring to be around those companies, or is it sort of intimidating? They raise a lot of money. They might be poaching staff. Like, what's the atmosphere like there?
So I think DIFC is one of the strongest ecosystem in terms of fintechs that we have ever seen, and it's quite collaborative in nature. So there are a lot of functionalities which can just work together, and those are the opportunities that we look at. Getting customer is a large play. But it's not competition. We all are trying to create categories ground up, and it can never be done by a single entity on day one. Building awareness, building literacy is a harder bit to do, and has to be done as an ecosystem rather than individual players.
Yeah, interesting. And are all your 16 people based there?
No. We are a mix of team based in Dubai, so it's only 6 people in here, and then we have got people between UK and India.
Yeah, because a lot of, especially with a tech company, the developers can be remote, and is that, do you have a remote style working culture?
Yes, we do have it, and it's quite flexible in nature. We intend to bring all of them to Dubai very soon, but it's only time that when there are more resources in place, and we see that this is the traction that we want the support ecosystem to also be here, is when we are going to get it.
And is SAVE an app that, or a company that has a sort of an idea of, focusing on expats in countries like the UAE and in the region, or what's your sort of, when in your investor decks, when you're putting your total addressable market, like what are you looking at?
Right. So we are not only looking at UAE, that's a starting market and a very good market to learn from, because you get to cater to expat populations from across the globe. For us, Southeast Asians had been one of the largest cohort of customers that we have been serving. But then we have got customers who are very active on the Africa corridor or have been the Arab expats. I was in Jeddah just entire this week, and then in Riyadh next week. We see KSA is another emerging opportunity where there's a lot of tech savvy middle class population where people want to have access to more global products and ways and instruments that sit with their lifestyle. And that's what we are trying to learn. From an opportunity perspective, KSA is up next, and we are trying to do something on the Africa corridor as well, but it cannot be immediate. So everything sits on a 3 to 6 months radar for us.
3 to 6 months, sorry, what? Rollout?
Yeah. It's going to be at least 3 to 6 months of learning period, like being there, understanding the customers, what kind of products work, if you need to modify them, before you say we are ready to launch it for the customers. There's a lot of localization that's also required when you're talking about a tech app. So it's not technology that you need to port. There's a lot of customer behavior that you need to adapt to. And that's what we are working to when we are talking about other geographies.
And different regulations as well.
Yes, it is. And that takes a lot of time. So we are part of the fintech Saudi cohort this time. So we are also actively speaking to other regulators because we understand the timelines which are associated with it. We've got some ecosystem enablers in other geographies.
And the language?
Yes, that's where the localization comes in. While we could see that most of our audiences are comfortable with English, but then Arabic becomes a natural thing that must exist on an app. So that's something also that we are working on right now.
But generally, you're kind of focused on this region, the Middle East and Africa.
Yes, that is where we are at.
Yeah, fair enough. And but do you think that, because it's an app and it's something that you can get user downloads from other markets, that you might then enter those markets?
We might, but we don't know it right now. It's too much to take on a plate saying that there are more markets that we can serve. The markets that we are already talking about are 100 million plus potential users. And if we are able to get a chunk out of that, is the biggest opportunity. Interestingly, only UAE and KSA total up spend about $400 billion on aspirational purchases. And a lot of it is still on debit and cash. So how do we make it more lucrative and saving-led? Getting a part of it just makes you $1 billion company shortly.
Good pitch. And Purvi, you mentioned earlier about sort of the points. What did you call them? Save points?
Save coins.
Save coins. Did you think of a token, like token economy and like crypto and a coin offering like that for this?
So our CTO is absolutely going to love it and jump over it as soon as we say that we are ready for Web3. But there are a lot of things that we still need to do on our core product. And there's a lot of opportunity to go deeper into this geography. So while we can say that we have a huge spread of things, what makes sense is what works the best right now, get more customers in. You can always extend the pipeline of products that you need to offer.
Yeah, interesting. So not yet, but down the...
Not yet, but yeah, maybe a couple of years.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because it seems ready-made for that. Like we even see, Elon Musk's X app has now a crypto license. So there's a favorable regulation in the UAE around these licensing as well. But you probably would need to apply for that as well.
Right. So I think UAE has been one of the one of the frontier markets trying to adapt to what's happening globally, and they're proactively trying to get onto the regulations front of it. So there is VARA, there are other regulations which are getting into place, and yes, I can safely say 12 to 24 months is going to be a timeline again where you see a lot of token propositions or Web3 propositions coming back again.
Definitely. And what's the sort of, for you, in that same timeline, what's the roadmap?
So for us, we are again focusing on how do we sit more with users' lifestyles. It is going to be much larger data play for us, where we extend it to multiple product lines. So that's dimension one. The dimension two is how do we get more and more brands on board. And third one is how do we get across geographies. So that three-dimensional play is any which way a lot to digest in the next 2 years. So that's where we are going to be at.
Okay, so we're sort of halfway through the year. No, actually, two-thirds through the year.
Yes, that's scary.
It's already 1st of September today. And so if I offered you a choice of 1 million active users by the end of 2024, or profitable by the end of 2024? Which would you pick?
That's a difficult choice, right? Savings as a product has never been a unit economics play. It has always been a play of ecosystem, right? So how strong an ecosystem that you are able to build, how strongly are you able to incorporate network effects into it, that changes the game. So 1 million users is going to get me the opportunity to get more financial services players getting attracted to the product. So that builds ecosystem on one side. And that's also going to be very exciting for brands on the other side to get access to them. So if that comes in place, I know my revenue drivers are in place. So if it's not 2024 December, it would be Jan 2025. I'd be any which way going to be profitable. So 1 million users it is, active users.
So you could generate significant revenue at 1 million users with your partner play.
Right. I think for us, profitability sits only at 200,000 users. That's what we have been targeting. Getting 1 million active users and in 1.5 year timeline or less than that is a gold mine for anyone. So I would choose that.
Brilliant. You choose both. Well, the 1 million drives the profitability. Well, thank you so much, Purvi, for sharing the story. It's fascinating to see, as always, bright young entrepreneurs and taking on the big fintech space. And it sounds like you're on the right path. So we'll follow SAV in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks a lot. I think if I was starting a business, I would never start a fintech company because it sounds so complicated and there's always so many different things. So it's super impressive to hear young entrepreneurs who figured it out and have come up with something like SAV has in the last 18 months that makes sense and obviously going in the right direction. So good luck to them. Thanks again for listening. If you are on an audio app, Apple, Angami, SoundCloud, Spotify, then you can like, comment, share, subscribe on any of the podcasts. You can also watch on smashy.tv. We're available on smart TV apps. And then you can also read about it on Love in Dubai. The general news are on any of the Smashy Instagram accounts, our Twitter accounts, our YouTube page. Smashy Business is where you get these types of Dubai work stuff, but there's also Smashy Gaming, Smashy Crypto, Smashy Sports as well. Speaking of sports, we've just launched an offer of 30% off for a season pass for the UAE sports, so futsal, volleyball, handball, and as of tomorrow, we'll be the official broadcasters for UAE basketball as well. So do go check that out. Thanks as always to the people behind the interview, our producers, Shahir and Ali. This is a Smashy Business production, part of the Gus's Media Podcast Network.